Hey everyone, I'm Andy,
And I'm Sean.
and this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Verazol, the split current.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking us out here on YouTube. It's the Commander's Brew. You know what to do if you want to help us out. Just hit it and subscribe. Leaving a little comment there after the show is a really great way to help us out. Also, if you want to get involved directly, it's Patreon. Patreon.com/CommandersBrew. You go there, you help, you you donate directly to the show, and then you become a part of our Discord and you can help us brew the decks and stuff. It's a lot of fun. We got other perks over there as well. Check it out, Patreon.com/CommandersBrew. Get in on it. But we're going to get into this week's deck tech. All right. So this week we're brewing with the Zendikar Rising set in mind. We're MDFCs are on the mind. We're talking about how they're affecting our decks. We're looking at these, pretty impressive stable of new commanders we have. They gave us a full cycle of 10 new legendaries. At first, that Death Touch guy caught my eye, that Rakdos one. But after it was pointed out in the set review that we read Verazol wrong, I was like, well, we did our guy dirty there. I gotta take Verazol and we gotta see what we can do with him. So I'm gonna read you Verazol and I'll tell you the part that we got wrong. So Verazol, which one is he? Well, he or she, I guess we don't know. It's a serpent. Verazol, the split current, is the X green blue, so it's the Simic rare commander from Zendikar Rising. Legendary Serpent, 0/0. Verazol, the split current, enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each mana spent to cast it. So first of all, I don't think we addressed this, but it's not for X. You don't get the X number of +1/+1 counters. It's for the total mana. So you could not spend X on this and just cast this thing for blue-green, and you get a 2/2. Which is great because commander tax is included on how much mana you spent to cast it. So next time, just forget about the X again. Commander tax, it's a 4/4. So this is going to scale so nicely with the game. Next, we have whenever you cast a kicked spell, you may remove 2 +1/+1 counters from Verazol. If you do, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So on the set review, we looked at what kicker spells were available, instants and sorceries, and we were like, there's a few good ones, but there's not really enough here to really center a deck around. Well, that's where we went wrong. It's just spells. It's not instants or sorceries. And this is I don't feel bad about missing that, because even the biggest other content creators missed this the first time around. A lot of them anyways missed it the same way we did. Lots of people have missed it. I saw like streamers on stream playing this card and being like, wait, what? They had no idea as well, because it's a new mechanic that Magic is introducing in this set, and Verazol is one of the cards to mess around with it. Lithoform Engine is another one, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But so Verazol actually lets us copy permanents as well, and it specifically says here in brackets, and it's the like reminder text that we just skip always, but we shouldn't have for this one because but we didn't know it was a new rule. You can choose new targets for the copy, but a copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. So we can also copy kicked creatures, kicked artifacts, and they come in as their kicked versions because it copies what it looks like on the stack. So when you kick a creature, that kicked version goes on the stack, and that's what Verazol copies and gives you a token version of it. So this card went from being, I thought, the worst one to what I now think is the best one. So
that's always a nice surprise,
right? It was a nice surprise, and I'm happy that I'm happy that happened. Me, I like a Simic commander. Anyways, so Verazol, the split current, truly now like a fun and exciting card that has kind of I wouldn't say on rails, but it's got a plan for you kind of laid out already, right? We're talking about +1/+1 counters, we're talking about kicker spells and copying those spells, obviously. So, we know what we're doing with it. I love the direction it's pointing us in, but let's have some fun with this. So, but before we do that, we gotta set this up, right? We gotta set it up. So what are some of the things we need for Verazol to get going? Well, obviously, kicker is an additional cost on things. So we're going to need a ramp like we always do. And, we want to set up some of these +1/+1 counters synergies, right? We want to get some. Those are the things that we want to have in place, that we want to have going. That way, then we can just kind of roll. So, Sean, we got a couple of specifically pretty like Verazol style ramp spells that are actually going to work really well here.
Yeah, we got Grow from the Ashes. This is a kicker sorcery that tutors up lands. It's 2 and a green on its normal face, but you can kick it for 2 extra generic, making a total of 5. Search your library for a basic, put it onto the battlefield, shuffle your library. If the spell was kicked, instead search for 2 basics. It puts them into play untapped, which is the best part of it. So with Verazol, you're paying 5, removing 2 counters off of Verazol, and putting in 4 untapped basics. So you've sort of paid 1 green and a couple of counters, net. We're also going to run Marwyn the Nurturer, 2 and a green, Elf Druid, 1/1. Whenever another elf enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Marwyn, and you can tap to add an amount of green equal to Marwyn's power, even if it gets bigger by another means. Elfheim Druid, 1 and a green, 0/2, taps to add green, or taps to add green when you're doing kicked spells.
Yeah, so, hey, look, it's another elf. There aren't actually that many elves for Marwyn, but Marwyn just works well with the +1/+1 counter synergies. Obviously, Grow from the Ashes, or like you said, is just it's just a kicker spell. And then we have Elfheim Druid helping us out with everything. Speaking of those +1/+1 counter synergies, Wild Onslaught is one that obviously makes a ton of sense. It's the 3 and a green instant that says put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. If the spell was kicked, put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control instead. And the kicker is 4 extra. So it's a lot. It's an 8 mana spell with the kicker that's going to put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature we control. This kind of spell is actually worth it in this deck just because we want ways to add counters and just have kicker, right? Loyal Guardian's another great way to get some counters on stuff. 4 and a green for the 4/4 Rhino with Trample. It's got Lieutenant at the beginning of combat on your turn. If you control your commander, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Just make sure that you're triggering this when your commander is out, because I think the number one thing that I know I do, and I've seen like our playgroup do a couple of times, is just forget that this thing needs your commander out to do this. Because you're just so used to it working that if someone like removed your commander the next turn, you're like, okay, Loyal Guardian, and then blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so just remember that. And then the another one to include here is Inscription of Abundance. These are cool cards from the new set. 1 and a green for an instant, and it has kicker 2 and a green. So 5 in total, 3 green to kick it, which is not much. This is nice. Choose 1, and if the spell was kicked, you can choose any number instead. So, first mode, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Already, that means you get a free copy of this spell if you kicked it with Verazol. Target player gains X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures they control. All right, sure. And target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So, it's free to get this fighting ability and let's gain a little life. I don't mind it. And since we have other kicker like synergies in this deck, it makes this card even like I don't know if I would run it if this was just like if there's nothing else I cared about kicker, right? And it was just Verazol in this. It's fine, but like it's not that flashy. But obviously we have some other stuff that's going to pay us off for this too. And Sean, why don't you read the perfect card for Verazol to run for when we're talking about these two? We're talking about ramp and the +1/+1 counter synergies.
It's a match made in heaven.
It really is.
Basswood Surge, 3 and a green, sorcery, kicker for 4, kind of like the earlier card. I forget the name. Wild Onslaught. It costs 8 total if you want to kick it, but this one, instead of giving you 2 +1/+1 counters and nothing else, this gives you 2 +1/+1 counters for the kicked side. And then the main 4 is Explosive Vegetation. Search up for 2 basics, put them in the battlefield tapped. So, like, if you pay the 2 counters to copy it, you're actually going up 2 counters on Verazol. You're getting 4 basics tapped, mind you, so you have had to pay the 8. You're not getting your mana back on the 8, but that's a lot for 8 mana.
Yeah, that's true. Even with the abundance too, you're actually gaining the 2 counters on Verazol. You're not just replacing the ones you took off. I said it's free, but you actually gain 2 because you're copying it, right?
I guess you have to have more than 2. I feel like the game, if Vera's... Oh, no, but while a spell's resolving, state-based actions aren't checked, are they?
I don't know about... Like, what do you mean? Like,
Oh, no, because you have to take the counters off Verazol to copy it, so the spell won't resolve. So if Verazol's gone by the time these resolve, because you've shrunk them down to a 0.
Yeah, I feel like, it won't be there for you to put the counters back on them. No, I don't think that would work.
Right. So you don't get to... I mean, you get to copy it for Verazol's last 2, but...
Yeah, so...
And I would.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to get you 4 extra lands into the battlefield, so that's pretty sweet.
Guess what? That covers the commander text, no problem.
Yeah, I'll take it. And when you consider it, right, like these spells, like we're going to be... Vastwood Surge is going to be great to cast even without the kicker. Same thing with Grow from the Ashes. Like, just ramping alone is going to be good enough because we want to have lands out here so we can do these kicker spells, because that's a big part of this deck, obviously. So talking about those kicker spells as well, we're just kind of talking about the vegetables of the deck here, the things, the cogs in the machine, the things that we need to include to keep working. We got to have kicker spells. So we're going to be talking a lot about different kicker spells we already have, but these are 3 that we can just go to right now and just sort of mention. So I like, from the new set, Thieving Skydiver, 1 and a blue for a 2/1. The kicker is X. X can't be 0. It has flying, and when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control of target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. So obviously, Commander, Soul Rings, we're talking about paying 3 mana for this thing that just takes a Soul Ring. Very good. Even at 2, even for 4 mana, if we steal an Arcane Signet or whatever, any of the other 2 mana rocks, phenomenal, right? We're very happy with that. So I think this card's great. I think this card is a couple bucks right now out of the new set. $3.15. I think this is a big time commander card, and I think you're going to want to snap these up now, because I think they're only going to go up, because I don't think this is getting played in standard. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think it is.
I don't know.
Quickly, also, Thicket Elemental's an old one. 3 green for a 4/4 with kicker 1 and a green. So that's 7 in total. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, you can reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. If you do, put that card onto the battlefield and shuffle all other cards revealed this way into your library. That's an ETB trigger, which means that the token that Verazol makes will also do that. So we get 2 free creatures with the Thicket Elemental kicked. And then, just the classic, just the all-time. This is the kicker card that I think shows up the most in Commander. Rite of Replication. 2 blue, kicker 5, 9 total to put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature. And if it was kicked, put 5 tokens out instead. This is a game-ending card. We've seen it happen. Kick this with Verazol, you get 10 copies of something. It's incredible.
I think I did a quick look on on Scryfall. There is 1 card with kicker that is used more than this, and that's because it's colorless. Everflowing Chalice.
Everflowing Chalice, yes, which of course is in this deck as well.
Yeah.
So this is a nice little setup we have here. We're seeing what the deck is about. We've seen the bones, we can see it, and now let's get into the fancy, neat moves.
Working on a neat move.
All right, yeah. So what? Talking about our first neat moves. Let's just talk about our kicker payoffs. Our things that care about when we kick things, right? So let's just take a look at a couple of those. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. Fine Gecko, 1 and a green, Elemental Lizard. It's a 2/2. It's one of the synergy pieces that it was built for the kicker theme in this latest set. The first kicked spell you cast each turn costs 1 less. Each turn. Mm-hmm. If I'm doing instance on my opponent's turn, great. I'm saving there as well. And whenever I cast a kicked spell, I put a +1/+1 counter on Vine Gecko. Gets a little bit bigger. Roost of Drakes, also incredible in the new set. 1 blue enchantment, but it itself has kicker for 2 and a blue. When Roost of Drakes enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. And whenever you cast a kicked spell, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. I feel I should point out that a copied spell was not cast, So you don't get the you don't get 2 Drakes with Verazol's ability, but you do get the first one. What I love about this card is that we've got so much kicker, it probably makes sense to just drop this on 1 and then just have it start moving while we're doing other things with our kicked spells. Well, if we can look at our like hand and see that like, oh, this is the perfect time to play it.
Allow me to be a little bit greedy with Roost of Drakes here, Sean.
Okay.
Because while I think that is not a bad plan, because it is just 1 mana and it's sweet to even on turn 3 or 4 drop this plus a ramp spell or something like that. To kick this with Verazol out, we get 2 Roost of Drakes. So now every time we kick something, we get 2 2/2 flying drakes. So like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to resist doing that. You know?
Yeah, I mean? You're probably right.
The sweet thing about this is it's only 4 to do that. That's incredible. With Verazol, we can have 2 of them. We can have 2 drakes. Like, it's amazing.
On the turn prior, I'm probably spending 3 mana to get Verazol out with 3 counters on him. Blue, green, one else, and then the next turn, I'm putting out a Roost of Drakes, kicked 2 of them actually, and I'm going ham.
You're going ham. Ham.
I think if
we still had the old 3 stars of the deck, this would get a spot on the 3 stars. I think this card is incredible in this deck.
Easily.
And there's
then we've got one more sort of payoff idea here. Coral Helm Chronicler, 2 blue, Merfolk Wizard, 2/2. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, draw a card, then discard a card. Little loot there. And when Coral Helm Chronicler enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards, reveal a card with kicker from among them, and put it into your hand. The rest go on the bottom in a random order. That's pretty good.
Not bad. We'll take it. Okay, so once you get your Verazol out there, and there's a lot of stuff in this deck that you've already seen a couple things that we're throwing counters around on all of our creatures, and then there's going to be times where you'll have like, a random, what was the name of the thing? Whatever. Loyal Guardians putting counters on stuff. You might have like that Thicket Elemental still just sticking around, a 4/4 that got us an extra creature and everything, but now it's like there's just a 4/4 sitting there. And we put through a counter on it. Now it's a 5/5. Well, let's just take advantage of those things and let's just beef those up, because we're not just beefing up Verazol when we talk about playing with counters. We're actually most games talking about all of our creatures. So Deep Glow Skate is one that has recently dropped in price because it got a reprint. I think in. Can you check? Because I can't scroll down right now. But
sure.
It's I think it got reprinted.
Double Masters and Mystery Booster.
Okay, well there you go. Perfect. So this card was really expensive. Card was really expensive at first, but $1.75 now. This is perfect for Verazol. If you can manage to maybe cast him on turn 4 as a 4/4. Deep Glow Skates is 4 and a blue for a 3/3. Then when it enters, double the number of each kind of counter on any number of target permanents. So we can do that on Verazol. We can do that on all the other guys. Even if they only have a single counter, that's pretty sweet, right? Now let's talk about some Proliferate. These two go hand in hand, especially in Simic decks, because those are the 2 colors they are. You got Evolution Sage, which is the 2 and a green 3/2 that basically landfalls to Proliferate. And then we got Flux Channeler, which is the 2 and a blue 2/2. That's whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Proliferate. There's a fair number of non-creature spells in this deck, surprisingly. So this is actually going to work out great. Those 2 hand in hand. And we're talking about proliferating, obviously, Verazol, and we're talking about the other guys. But there's a surprising amount of other things in this deck to proliferate, as we're going to get to. But also, one that was brought up in our Discord was Selesnya Eulogist. I had completely forgotten about this card. 2 and a green for a 3/3. Pay 2 and a green. Exile target creature card from a graveyard, then populate. Sorry. This is not the right section for this. I was thinking Proliferate when it is populate. This is still a good card in this deck, but I remembered this incorrectly and thought it was Proliferate. Anyways, speaking of the Proliferators, they work actually with a bunch of other stuff in the deck too. Sean, why don't you talk about these next 2 cards?
Ooh, this is a spicy one. As Foretold, 2 and a blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on As Foretold, and once each turn, not just your turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a spell you cast with converted mana cost X or less, where X is the number of time counters on As Foretold. So as foretold, builds up time counters, and it allows you to play a free spell every turn. You have to watch timing restrictions. You're not allowed to play sorceries on other people's turns, but you can end up getting free sorceries on your turns. And like in a blue deck, once it has a few counters on it, it's basically free counter spells whenever you want. It's an amazing card. If you're proliferating, it's so good. And when you're paying 0 rather than paying the mana cost, you are allowed to pay additional costs,
Yes.
which includes kicker. So if you want to pay for a free spell, you can just throw in the kicker and get that as well. So it's like just a huge discount.
So the thing is, though, that you still have to pay for the kicker, like you were saying. Right?
Yes.
Like
yes.
the
If you're at
does not
5
become free.
counters.
Yeah.
Right. If you're at 5 counters, Grow from the Ashes was a 3 mana spell with a kicker of 2. You're not allowed to count it as a 5 and pay the free.
Right.
But the 3 part, the front facing top right corner of the card, that's the free part.
You just pay for the kicker, which is, I mean, honestly, that's still great, right? Like we're just looking for ways to like lower the total cost of these cards. So as foretold cuts a lot of them like in half or more. So it's really great. And then that's not to mention the fact that you can also, it's only once each turn, but that, like you said for an earlier thing, an instant on an opponent's turn still counts. So, you know, you get basically your counter spells become free if you have any of those.
We're also running Primal Amulet, another favorite of mine. It's a 4 mana artifact. It makes all your instants and sorceries 1 cheaper. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you put a charge counter on it. And when there are 4 or more charge counters on it, you may remove them and transform it, flip it over to the back, which becomes Primal Wellspring. You get to add 1 mana of any color, and as long as you cast an instant or sorcery with that mana from this land, you get to copy it. And if you copy a kicked spell, the copy is also kicked. You can probably get like quadruple or triple. Like
you'd get an additional copy of it. But I mean, that's
amazing.
Great. We'll take it.
That's amazing.
And don't forget, like, you know, because it's a land, it's a weird form of ramp also a little bit, right? Like it actually puts you ahead if you proliferate it into this land. So it's kind of it's kind of works on 2 angles that way too. Another cool little neat move here is Roalesque Apex Hybrid. 2 green, blue, so 5 total. 4/5 legendary human mutant. Has flying and trample. When it enters the battlefield, you put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control. Obviously, Verazol is a nice target for that. And when Roalesque dies, you proliferate and then proliferate again. So, you know, we're still talking about proliferate. We're still talking about counters. Roalesque works really well. But this one specifically works well when he dies, right? So we don't have a ton of ways to do it ourselves. So, but that's kind of okay. It's just kind of a bonus anyways. But if you did want to do that, Primal Growth works really well because it's a 2 and a green sorcery with the kicker of sacrifice a creature, and says search your library for a basic land card, put that into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. If it was kicked, instead search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Like imagine you kicker Primal Growth while you have Roalesque out to proliferate, then proliferate again, and then the 2 lands come in on your evolution stage, and they proliferate, like it can get pretty wild. So that alone can create a board state where now all of your creatures are like +6/+6 or something, like whatever it is you did. So pretty cool little combination there. What about these 2 guys? You guys work all right together.
Vertaloth the Ancient, 4 green, legendary tree folk, 4/7 with kicker X. You may pay an additional X as you cast the spell. And it doesn't say X cannot be 0 anywhere, does it? Some spells, like that little merfolk that steals artifacts, says specifically, and this one does not.
Well, this one makes sense. So technically, you're saying I can kick this for 0 and get a free 4/7? I wonder. You must not. There must be some rule that says you can't do that.
Okay, well,
I'll look that up. You read these cards.
Well, you mean you can't? The kicker is X, so you have to pay for the 6 main part. But sapling creatures and other tree folk creatures get +1/+1. When Vertaloth the Ancient enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, put X +1/+1 green sapling creature tokens onto the battlefield. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to make X = 0 because you would get no saplings. But we do have cards that watch for kicker happening, so they would see an
Yeah.
instance of kicker happening, even though we didn't do anything with it.
So, I mean, I've just quickly had a look at some threads where people are asking judges, and it looks like you fully can kick it for 0 because it doesn't say specifically that it can't be. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So if you're in a pinch and you just want the other copy of Vertaloth and you want to do that with Verazol, you can. That's interesting.
Neat.
And again, like you said, also proc the other
Oh, but wait, it's legendary. You can't there would be,
Oh,
it would be
yeah.
pointless to copy.
You're right. I didn't see that. Yep. Okay. Never mind then. Pointless to copy. It isn't pointless to copy if you want to get the extra saplings, of course.
If you're paying for the kicker.
Yeah, exactly. If you're paying for the kicker, that you would still get the extra saplings. And you read the other one already? You read?
Not yet.
No. Here we go.
This is MacLeod 3 green. Fungus starts as a 4/4, but it's got Devour 2, so as it enters the battlefield, you sacrifice as many creatures as you want, and each one sacrifice gives you 2 +1/+1 encounters on MacLeod. So, no kicker here, but MacLeod always ends up with a few counters on them, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create a green sapling creature token, it's a 1/1, for each +1/+1 counter on MacLeod. That ends up being a ton.
Yeah. This guy is also one that used to be kind of expensive, but they've reprinted it a few times now, so now we're seeing it at a more reasonable cost for sure.
Yeah.
But this guy and Vertaloth kind of have this weird non-bow combo situation where Vertaloth comes down and pumps all the plants and makes a bunch of saplings, and then MacLeod comes in and eats them all, but then later makes more of them, and then Vertaloth is still pumping them. So yeah, okay, these are brothers who kind of fight, but also are happy to live together. I don't know. So that's pretty cool. Especially things like Vertaloth, one-time kicker effects. It's nice to be able to do them again. Well, how about a little Temur Sabertooth action? Temur Sabertooth, the 2 green, 4/3 cat. That's 1 and a green. You may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, Temur Sabertooth gains indestructible until end of turn. So, I mean, just bouncing things for the cost of giving something indestructible is sweet. We've talked about this card a million times. This card's not $5-6. It's an uncommon.
What?
Yep. Was reprinted in the Commander set. So
Dang.
The fact that it's this high means that obviously this card's so good in Commander. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about with those MDFCs, man. In a couple of years, we might see those get up to this level. That's not outside of the realm of possibility. So snatch them up. And then finally here, there's just a couple other ways where we double things up. I mentioned that Selesny Eulogist. That's a cool little thing where we have just a couple of little populate cards, because once we get the copies of the permanents, you're going to be able to populate them. So that's one thing, one cool way to double things up. Second Harvest, right? 2 green. For each token you control, create a token that's a copy of that permanent. There we go. That's kind of like a super populate, so that's even better. Why don't you take these next two here?
Ooh, Spark Double. This is another staple, I think. 3 in a blue, Illusion, 0/0. You may have it enter as a copy of a creature or planeswalker you control, and it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter if it's a creature, or an additional loyalty if it's a planeswalker, and it isn't legendary if that permanent is legendary. So you can copy anything. Doesn't matter. And it's even bigger. So copying your commander gets you extra, so so you would get the 4 counters because you spent 4 mana on Spark Double, and it would give itself a +1/+1. So you would get a Verazol with 5 counters on them.
That's pretty fun. Yeah, weird. That's a neat way that it works.
And also
way,
Twinning Staff. 3 mana artifact. If you would copy a spell 1 or more times, instead copy it that many times plus an additional time. And then you can pay 7 tap, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets. That's a lot of mana to copy it the hard way, but we've got a built-in way to copy on our commander, so we will be using this card big time.
Yeah, this card is just free rolling. 7 mana to copy an instant or sorcery. No thanks. I'll just do it with my commander. Twinning Staff, another huge mention from the Discord there. Speaking of our Discord, ton of people in there helping this time. Chiefy, Papadillo, Matthias Corfort, I think is his name. Core Fart is the fun nickname he has. Quantum Mechanic 1, Loki Dragon 87, Pips Don't Lie, Lolwat, Neomax's Doomfrog, all in there. And just, just picking it up and running with this angle, which this one wasn't as, like, I feel like I said, like, it's not exactly on rails, because I think you can go in, you can take the kicker theme and go with it, but it kind of has a plan for you, right? So, but there was still some things that I didn't see, and there's still, I think, bigger angles to take if you really wanted to. So I loved a lot of the suggestions for this deck were from our Discord, and they had a lot of great ones. Right. So we've talked about the Discord, so that means it is time for the budget report. Right on. So I think TCG was doing a weird thing where it was like maybe it thinks one card is more super expensive because it's like some old version or something, like you mentioned before. But I still worked it out, and it looks like I think like the regular price of this was like just over $100, around 608 depending on. And then so I think based on that, because I couldn't get an accurate read, but I think the low would be somewhere around 50 to 60, maybe even $65, something like that. Generally speaking, that's kind of how it works. So, because otherwise it was saying it was like $130 and the low was 80, but I know from checking different sources that it's not a $130 deck. It's less than that. So anyways, so around $60 I think is safe to say. A couple of cards that we include are kind of expensive. We've already talked a bunch about As Foretold. It's about $8. It's like $7.50. It's a nice card. I think this is the one you keep in, and these next two, Sean, I think are the ones that we can afford to cut.
Yeah, this is a brand new card, so the price is probably fluctuating still. Seagate Stormcaller, 1 and a blue, Human Wizard 2/1. It's a mythic from the newest set. It's got kicker for 4 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less that you cast this turn when you cast it. People are comparing it to Snapcaster Mage loosely, which is why it's kind of becoming expensive. If Seagate Stormcaller was kicked, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets. Super fun. I mean, we'll see. If it ends up being as useful or almost as useful as Snapcaster, then it'll still be very expensive. But hopefully it comes down. But as of right now, it's like $9. And he says you could cut it. And this is a shocker. Helm of the Host is up to $12. I mean, it's not a shocker. It's so good. It's the 4 mana legendary artifact equipment. You equips for 5. And at the beginning of combat, you make a token copy with haste, but it's not legendary. You can copy anything. It copies every turn that it's equipped. And
yeah, that you're just going on your own memory of it. Like, this is just how it works, which is fine, because yes, it is.
Yeah, it's the best. Like, you're just gonna like put it on. I mean, it's a lot to get it on something, but once it's on something, it only leads to pure shenanigans.
It's such a commander card. It's such. Yeah. I mean, just go back and listen to the episodes when this came out. The episode specifically where we brewed with it, and like we're just gushing the whole time about it. There is a bit of a come down on the Helm of the Host, because once you have the game where you pay 4 for it, and then you pay 5 to attach it to something. And then immediately someone just kills the thing that you were about to attach it to. You're like, oh, that's 2 whole turns that I just didn't do anything. Or they destroy your Helm of the Host when you go to equip it. That's even worse. It's like, oh God, 2 turns. I'm no longer playing this game. So there's a real cost to this card, and the real cost is $11 to $12. And specifically a card we left off the list because it's just a little too pricey right now. It's we're talking about in the set review, Sean asked, is it a new commander staple? I think there's a good case to be made that perhaps it is. Lithoform Engine, 4 mana for the legendary artifact with 3 abilities. First is 2 tap it, copy target activated or triggered ability you control, choose your targets. 3 tap it, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, new targets. And then 4 tap it, copy target permanent spell you control. And of course, that copy becomes a token. That's the new thing. This does belong in Verazol, of course, right? We're copying all the things. And we have a lot of mana to throw around and do it. It's like sometimes, So like it really would be great in this deck, but this is like already selling for like $25 or something like that. Like, that's a lot, man. Yeah, we kind of talked about, whether or not we think it's a staple or what we think the impact of this card is kind of in the set review. So go check that out. And if you want to check it out on YouTube, you can jump directly to the part where we talk about the artifacts with our new little chapter things that we figured out how to do on YouTube. So actually going back and referencing our set reviews from now on will work pretty well. So yeah, you can do that pretty easily. Anyways, Lithiform Engine, obviously very, very good card. It would be very great in the deck, but it's a little pricey right now. Sean, I think our rides are here.
Oh, our limousines are here?
I do think so. And
okay, I'll change in the limo. I'll change into my tuxedo in the limo.
Okay, great, because I think we need to make our way to the Oddry Awards. Wonderful, beautiful. Everyone looking so good. Look, there's Nahiri.
Hi, Nahiri.
She's sitting next to a Hedron with a face drawn on it.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Really good.
Oh, hey, Tom Hanks. How are you?
Oh, Tom Hanks is here. Wow.
Great.
He showed up as well. That's great. Oh, there's Billy Crystal.
Hello, Billy.
He's arrived with Nissa. Oh, cool. Didn't know he was an elf. Had a feeling, though.
Didn't know he was still alive.
Billy Crystal?
I don't know. I imagine he's very old. I'm looking at him right now, and he is very old.
He's sitting right there, Sean. How rude.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for tuning into the Oddrix again this year. We're always happy to be hosting the Oddrix. For some reason, we are the installed lifelong hosts, and we've got some awards to give away tonight. First one I want to give away is one that's very special to me, actually, because it awards. It's the award we give away that is for someone in my family specifically. So please give it up for the winner of the best dressed in my family. It's Vorel of the Hull Clade. Yes, there it is. Thank you. Very good. Vorel of the Hull Clade. Wonderful. Look at that. Look at that cool armor, and look at that. Look at those Hull jeans. They're really on display there. That's what I look like when I wear that same outfit.
I am going to present the next award. Now, so rarely in one's lifetime does one get to put every card in a commander deck, and this next award is for the card I never thought I would include in a commander deck, but here it is. The winner of the Oddry is Mold Shambler. Yes, thank you, Mold Shambler. 3 and a green, Fungus Beast, 3/3, but it has kicker, 1 and a green. And when Mold Shambler enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, destroy target non-creature permanent. Like an acidic slime, but it costs 1 more.
Yeah. I always actually was like, I remember looking at this card once and just going, I will never put this in a commander deck. Why would I ever? And here we are. And that's the kind of impact I have on the Oddrix. And finally, our final award for the evening here is a simple one. It's the award for Stupidest River, and the award goes to Rushing River. Yep, Rushing River, the 2 and a blue instant. The kicker is sacrifice of land, and it returns target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And if you pay the kicker, you get to do it again. Look at that river. Tell me that's not the stupidest river. First of all, how does it work? Where is it going? How did it even start? Who made that? Stupidest river, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning into the Oddrix this week. I don't know when.
Another excellent award ceremony. Thank you, everybody. Get home safe, everybody.
Well, this has been a great one. I want to say thanks to everyone for listening, of course, as always. And just a reminder here, wizardtower.com. Check it out. If you're in Canada, you're going to get a little slice off your single order if you use our coupon code. If you're outside of Canada, check out TCG Player. Use our affiliate link included in the show notes. And you will be able to help support the show that way. If you follow that link and grab any cards from TCG, whether it's this deck or any other one, we're going to get a slice of that, and that's gonna help directly. Thank you so much. Again, thanks to everyone out there in the Discord. Thanks to everyone who's listening. This has been great. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.